fraction of gas.
Yeah. So did we discussed about Henry's law as well? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Harish. Right. So we'll continue the discussion on Henry's law. The Henry's law, as Harish was describing, it is partial pressure connecting with the mole fraction of a gas. And it is, as an equation, you can write partial pressure of a gas is equal to Henry's law constant, gas law constant, into mole fraction of the gas. So this is the final equation you're getting. And did we discuss about this slide?
No, ma'am, we didn't do this yet.
Okay, so I guess we just defined what is Henry's law, and partial pressure of gas is directly proportional to mole fraction of gas in the solution. So if you're taking carbon dioxide and trying to dissolve it in water, then partial pressure of carbon dioxide will be equal to Henry's gas law constant into mole fraction of the carbon dioxide. That means how much percentage of the carbon dioxide got dissolved in water. So the relation is between the partial pressure of carbon dioxide and mole fraction of carbon dioxide in solution. So this can be applicable in many systems. So this is the general definition of Henry's law. Now what we're going to discuss in detail is what are the factors affecting the Henry's gas law constant. You can see that it's different. Henry's law gas constant are different for different gases at constant temperature. That means it is a function of nature of the gas, and also it changes with the temperature. That means Kh, that is the Henry's law gas constant. It is a fact, it's a, what you can say, it's a constant which depends on the temperature, and also it varies with the nature of the gas. That means the value for carbon dioxide will not be the same as value for oxygen. So it depends on the type of the gas that you're handling and also the temperature. So you can write it as a point Kh, that is Henry's law gas constant, depends on the temperature and also the nature of the gas. So that is what you can find out from the slide. The factors affecting the Henry's constant, it is dependent on the nature of the gas and also it depends on the temperature. And when you look into the graph, that is actually showing the relation Henry's law satisfied. Here you can see mole fraction is plotted of mole fraction of HCl is plotted on x-axis, and the partial pressure of HCl is plotted on y-axis. And you can see you're getting a straight line graph through origin. So this is the graph you're supposed to get whenever there is a direct relation, right? Directly proportional. When the two factors are directly proportional, this is the graph you're supposed to get, a straight line passing through origin. So this is how you can, if you want to prove whether dissolving carbon dioxide in water is following or satisfying Henry's law, then what you have to do is, like, through the experiment, find the mole fraction and partial pressure at different values and plot it as a graph. And if you are getting a graph as a straight line passing through origin, that shows that it is directly proportional. Partial pressure is directly proportional to mole fraction. That means Henry's law is proved, or it is valid for this system. Yeah.
Ma'am, only the things you've underlined you should write.
Can you make it little louder?
Ma'am, only the things you underline we should write.
Yeah, underlined mean only write is that Kh depends on temperature and nature of gas. That much is enough. No need to write all the 3 points. Just as a brief point, you can write Kh is a constant, Henry's law gas constant. It depends on nature of gas and temperature. And this is a graph showing you the proportionality relation between partial pressure and mole fraction. This is what you are supposed to get if you want to prove Henry's law with a particular system.
Do you have to draw the graph?
Just draw like this only. You just write mole fraction on x-axis and you write partial pressure on y-axis. Then they show a straight line through origin. A directly proportional relation. That much is enough. No need to write for HCl. That is one typical example they have given. But this is how a graph showing Henry's law is satisfied. Am I clear? Do you want me to explain it again? Yeah. Okay, so only this much to be noted. As I said, KH depends on nature of gas and as well as the temperature. And you just plot a graph roughly showing a directly relation between partial pressure and mole fraction. This is how you can prove whether Henry's laws are satisfied with the system. Okay, so yeah, I don't know whether it's my problem. It's very feeble voice. Can you make it a little louder?
Can you repeat what you had told?
No, in this slide, basically, right, one point is KH depends on nature of gas and temperature, and then plot a rough graph showing a straight line relation like between partial pressure and mole fraction. That straight line should pass through origin. These two points to be noted in this slide. Clear?
Will they ask us to prove this in the exam?
No, actually, they won't be there, but maybe for a multiple choice, you may 4 different types of graphs will be there. Which graph satisfies the Henry law? Like that could be there. Different lines it can be there. It should be always a straight line passing through origin. That is how usually in entrance test and all they ask for different laws. Only thing is that you need to know whether it's directly proportional. Yeah. Yes.
Ma'am, for partial pressure, there should be other gases as well, right?
No, if you're talking about a particular system, then the partial pressure of, say, example, you're dissolving ammonia in water, then partial pressure of ammonia is directly proportional to mole fraction of ammonia. So if you're talking about a one gas, then it is the relation of partial pressure and mole fraction of the same thing.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, because your partial pressure of a gas in the gaseous state is directly proportional to mole fraction of that gas when dissolved in the solution. That is how the Henry's law is connecting. Mole fraction is a unit, it's a type of expressing the concentration. So indirectly, they said that partial pressure increases, concentration of the solution increases, right? More pressure, higher the pressure, more gas will be dissolved. So that is what indirectly they are explained in the Henry's law in terms of mole fraction. Concentration can be with any unit. You can use molarity, molality, or parts per million. Many units are there, but Henry's law is specifically using mole fraction as the unit of concentration. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So the more details you can get it from this table. No need to draw or write the values, but this is for your understanding. When you compare helium and hydrogen, the first two rows given, the temperature is same, 293 Kelvin. But as the gas is different, one is helium and other one is hydrogen, their KH, the constant is different. That is what I said in the previous slide. KH, that is the Henry's law gas constant, depends on nature of the gas. Whatever value for helium and hydrogen will be different because they are two different types of gas. Even though the temperature was same, but their KH, the constant is different because it's a different type of gas. But when you look into the third and the fourth row for nitrogen, it was same gas nitrogen, but the temperature was 293 and 303. But still the KH value was changing. That means it not only depends on the nature of gas, but it also depends on the temperature. So it means it will be a constant, will be a value fixed for a certain gases at constant temperature. If you're changing the temperature or a same gas, still the KH value changes. So this is just an explanation of what you have written in the previous slide, that KH depends on nature of gas as well as the temperature. Even for same gas, nitrogen, you can see the next two rows, oxygen. Same oxygen gas, but at two different temperature, the value is different. Yeah. So that is, this is the table, no need to draw it in your book. This is just for your understanding, just the explanation, or just to prove that what we have written, that KH is depending on nature of gas and the temperature. So either of them changes, then the value of KH will change. If the nature of the gas, the type of gas you're using is changing, surely the KH value changes. And if you are changing the temperature, keeping the same gas, then also KH value changes. So in all these examples, you can get the same value. You can find out this relation. For the next, these things, the temperature was kept constant, but it was argon, carbon dioxide, formaldehyde, methane, and vinyl chloride. For them, that even though the temperature was kept constant, the KH was changing for different gases, because KH depends on the nature of gas as well as the temperature.
Ma'am, two gases have the same KH?
There is no two gases have the same KH, because each gases is different, no? So different gases, different value of KH. And for the same gases, if the temperature is different, then also KH changes. That's what you can see in nitrogen and also with oxygen. You can see that even though it's same gas, but when you change the temperature, and which lead to the change in the KH value. Right? That is why we said that KH is a factor which depends on the nature of gas as well as the temperature. Both will affect the KH value. Okay, and other 2 points you can find out related to the KH is that solubility of gaseous solute is lower with the higher values of KH. That means if you look into nitrogen, when you are increasing the temperature, okay, what is happening to the KH? KH value is also increasing. Yeah. 76.48 become 88.4. But we already know that for a gas getting dissolved in a liquid, when you increase the temperature, its solubility decreases. Yeah. I hope you're
Yes.
yeah. So in that case, you can say one thing, when the value of KH is increasing, that indicates that the solubility is lower or decreases. So the relation, if you're given a KH value and you are told to compare its solubility, then you can see higher the value of KH, lower is the solubility. So that is the first point you can write as a continuation. Solubility of a gaseous solute is lower or decreases with the increase in the value of KH. That is what it's connected and written. KH value increases with the increase in temperature, which means there is a decrease in the solubility, because we already discussed that with temperature, okay, when your temperature is increasing, solubility decreases. For any gaseous solute getting dissolved in a solution, when the temperature increases, gas has gaining more energy and they try to get back to the normal gaseous state, not in a dissolved condition. So that is why you can see the solubility decreases with increase in temperature, and that can be clearly observable in terms of KH value. With increase in temperature, KH value also increases. That means solubility decreases. So this is how sometimes you can get a comparison, like 2 or 3 different gases will be given along with the KH, and you may have to compare their solubility. Higher the value of KH, lower will be the solubility. That is the point to be noted. So write these 2 points as a continuation of KH. Solubility is lower when KH is higher, or KH increases with increase in temperature, which means solubility decreases. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, actually very easy thing only, but still need to make a note of all these points, important points.
Ma'am, these KH values also we should write, or?
No need to write these table. Okay, because this is no need to by heart any values. Even if there is a question, they are supposed to give you the values. Okay, so that's why I told you to no need to write. Just this is just for your understanding. Okay. Can I change the slide? Can I? Okay.
All right.
Okay, fine. So next is actually another important topic, that is application of Henry's law. And this is where you will get a lot of questions related to, rather than directly asking for a definition, they may ask questions related to application. First application that you already know for any fizzy drinks, aerated or carbonated water, you can see that carbon dioxide dissolved at higher pressure will not stay dissolved once the drink is opened at a lower pressure. That is why when you're opening a can, Pepsi or any other cola, you can see that the gas is coming out, right? And that is the reason, because these cans are sealed at higher pressure in the industry. If you've seen their preparation, you can see it's been sealed at very high pressure. So at that high pressure, we know that solubility increases. So at high pressure, carbon dioxide is more soluble in water, so it gets dissolved very easily. But when you're opening the can at a normal atmospheric pressure, the pressure is lesser than the one when it is sealed, right? So at lower pressure, what happens to solubility? What happens to solubility when it is low pressure? Solubility?
Decreases.
Decreases.
It will decrease. That is the reason why the gas which was dissolved started moving out, and that's what you can see as a formation of effervescence. So that is a one application of Henry's law, and it's a very easy, and you know you have seen it like most of the time. I don't know how frequently you're using it, but still you are aware of that thing. That whenever you open any aerated water or cola drink, the carbon dioxide is moving out, oozing out very easily. And the reason for this is that at lower pressure, the solubility is less. So this is the first point. Make a note of application of Henry's law. The first one is aerated or carbonated waters or drinks. Carbon dioxide dissolved at higher pressure will not stay dissolved once the drink is opened at a lower pressure. Second example in our everyday life situation is oxygen getting dissolved in our blood.
The previous one 1 minute.
Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Second example, that also you can easily relate how the oxygen is being dissolved in our blood. That can be given with an example. When you are inhaling the air as a whole, you're inhaling air, the pressure is very high. When the pressure is very high, oxygen will get dissolved into our bloodstream. The pressure of oxygen dissolved into blood at the lungs because pressure of oxygen in the air is higher, allowing it to dissolve into the bloodstream. So that is the reason why oxygen is getting dissolved in the blood directly from the lungs. And when it reaches to the tissue or cell where the oxygen is required, you know that inside a cell or a tissue, the pressure of oxygen is very, very less. So what happened? This dissolved oxygen come back to the gaseous state. It becomes less soluble and come back to the gaseous state. That is what happening. Release of oxygen inside the blood, inside the tissue or cells where the oxygen is required. Yeah. And you can explain the same thing in carbon dioxide. We know that through our vein, carbon dioxide is being transported towards the lungs, and we know that pressure of carbon dioxide in air is very, very less. So what happens when the pressure is less? This dissolved CO2 will come back as CO2 gas. So that is again an application of Henry's law where oxygen is getting dissolved in the bloodstream and is being transported throughout our body because of this pressure thing. At pressure of oxygen is very high, and what happens is it immediately gets dissolved. But when it reaches the tissues or cell where it requires oxygen, where the pressure of oxygen will be very less, so solubility of oxygen decreases and it converts back to the gaseous state. Am I clear? Very easy example, I know, but still you can expect question as application of Henry's law. So these two examples, carbonated drinks and dissolving oxygen in our bloodstream, these two are like, you know it as it's very close to our everyday life situations. The next two examples are not very familiar, like very common, but still you can easily connect, and they are very, very important also as it requires some medical condition, that is lead to the medical condition. The first case is about the third example of application of Henry's law is for scuba divers. I don't know whether you are aware of this thing. These scuba divers, when they go for diving, they really go underwater, right? They go to the very lower part of the sea, right? Have you ever tried it, scuba diving? Anybody? Silence. Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, at least you might have seen in movies or somewhere like that, yeah? Where the people
yes,
go
ma'am.
for the scuba diving, yeah. So usually the scuba divers take cylinders along with them, right? As they can't breathe under the water. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am.
So what is the composition of gases in air? Which are the major components of air?
70% nitrogen and 20% oxygen, and the rest I don't know.
78% is nitrogen gas and 21% is oxygen. That together
0.02% is carbon,
1%
right?
is remaining all the other gases like carbon dioxide, H2O, argon, neon, everything will be together as 1%. So out of 100, 99% is your nitrogen and oxygen alone. Like together it's 99. Remaining 1% is the combination or the mix of all the other gases. So major component of air is nitrogen, and then comes oxygen 21%, and the remaining all the other gas just reaches to 1%. So if you're taking this air in a cylinder, in a can, when you're going for a diving, what is the problem is that the nitrogen, okay, so this is the sea level and you're going for the scuba diving to the bottom part of the sea. You know that what happens to the pressure when you're going down towards the bottom part of the sea? What happened to the pressure?
Ma'am, increases.
Pressure increases. Always when you're going towards down a part, the pressure increases. what happened when pressure increases because of the increase in pressure, more and more nitrogen will get dissolved in our blood. Okay, because the major component of air is 78% of air is nitrogen. So at normal pressure, at atmospheric pressure, the nitrogen will not get dissolved. Okay, but when you're going for scuba diving, where you're going to extremely lower part or the bottom part of the sea level, where the pressure is very high. So because of the higher pressure, more amount of nitrogen will get dissolved in our blood. Okay, so after the diving, when you're coming back to the sea level, so what happened to the pressure? Pressure decreases, because when you're going down, pressure increases, and when you're coming up, the pressure decreases. So what happened? The dissolved nitrogen will start changing into the gaseous state, right? The solubility decreases when the pressure is decreasing. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So this decrease in solubility lead to a condition, because it's a dissolved nitrogen turning back to the gaseous state, which lead to the formation of a bubbles. Because you know, when dissolved gases turns back to the gaseous state, there will be formation of bubbles. Just like you open a can of cola drink, you can see the gases escaping in the form of a bubble, right? From a liquid, dissolved liquid, when it converts back to the gaseous state, it forms bubbles. So same thing happen for a dissolved nitrogen. When you are going to the bottom part of the sea, the pressure is high, so more nitrogen is dissolved. And when you're coming back to the sea level, what happens is like these nitrogen get changes to the, because of the decreasing the pressure, the dissolved nitrogen converts back to the gaseous state, so which lead to the formation of the bubble. But the problem is that unlike a cola bottle or something, this is your blood vessels. These capillaries will get blocked because of these bubble formation. Okay, so we know that if the transport of the blood is disturbed, that is actually a life-threatening situation. And it's a very painful situation called BENS. So BENS is a medical condition where the transport of blood is disturbed due to the blocks formed by the formation of bubbles. And it's a dangerous to the life.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Ma'am,
in
I
order
just
to
period is
avoid
over.
this, yeah, I'll just take another 1 minute and I'll stop. So in order to avoid this medical condition called BENS, rather than taking air in the can, they take a special composition of the gases, which is called air diluted with helium, which contains 11.7% of helium, 56.2% of nitrogen, and 32.1% of oxygen. This is the combination of the gas they take in their cylinder. They don't take normal air in their cylinder. If they take normal air, then the problem is that they will experience a medical condition called BENS. That is because of the solubility of nitrogen and the higher pressure. And when they come back to the sea level, these dissolved nitrogen will change back to the gas and lead to the formation of bubbles, and which block the capillaries. So in order to avoid this life-threatening situation, instead of taking air inside the cylinder, they take a special mix of gas. That is what known as air diluted with helium. So helium was less than 1% in the normal air, but in their cylinder, what they take along with them when they go for diving is 11.7% of helium, 56.2% of nitrogen. So you can see the amount of nitrogen is comparatively less than the normal air. So that BENS situation can be overcome easily because less amount of nitrogen and there are more amount of helium and oxygen. So that is the reason why in the beginning and all, when they started the scuba diving, they used to take air in their cylinder, and many people have died because of this situation called BENS. They couldn't identify what is the reason. Later only they found out that this is because of solubility of nitrogen in the blood, which can be avoided by using the special mix of gases, helium, nitrogen and oxygen. This is one of an important question they ask as the application of Henry's law.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so please go through it. We'll have a discussion continuing in the next class. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.